Hi, this is Pam Price. Welcome back to Jumpstart Code. We're going to talk about how to create input elements that are known as radio buttons. And the type that you use for these input elements is radio. So let's get right into this. I have a very simple page here with nothing on it right now. I'm going to add some radio buttons, and we're going to see a few different things. So let's say we're doing a coffee shop, and you've got to decide if you want coffee, latte, or espresso. So we'll put a paragraph and we'll say select your beverage, and we'll start with our first one. So I'm going to put input type equals radio, and I'm going to give this, the name property is going to be important. We'll see in a second. Actually, let me not put it to begin with, just to show you. And in this case, we'll have to specify the value. So this particular button, if you click on it, will represent coffee. That means that that's the value that will be submitted to the server if I do this. Now, let's just build this up one step at a time so you can understand what's going on. So you see here, we've got a button, right? But I probably want some words associated with it. So remember our label? We're going to add a label in here. And I'm going to nest it. And I'm going to put coffee here. And then we'll close the label there. Let me fix my indenting. So I'm just going to build one to start. That's always a good idea when you're doing multiple of something. You need to do one at a time. Now, you notice here, the label is before the little button. Maybe I want it that way, or maybe I want the button on the other side. Also, before I change this, notice because the label is associated with it, if I click here, it selects the button. So you've got two ways to actually select the button. To actually click it, or if you click the label, because the label is nested, the input is nested inside the label, then you can select it. But let's say I want the button and the label on the other side. Well, that means instead of the label going here, the label needs to go after. So let's see the difference when we do this. All right, so now I have the label on the other side. So let's put a second one. Now that I kind of have a model for how to do this, I will copy this and I'll put in a second one. And so maybe this one is going to be latte. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, so I've got this. But a very important thing to notice, look, I can click coffee. I can also click latte. If these are a group of buttons that I want you to only be able to select one in that group, then I have to connect the group together. I have to tell them that they're all part of the same group. And we're going to do that by giving them all the same name. So I'm going to say name equals beverage. And if I put the same thing here, name equals beverage. So let's watch what happens. All right, so now I can select coffee. If I try to select latte, so you see I'm forced to only make one of these choices. So that's an important thing by grouping them together. So if I want to add a third one here, I'll copy this. And let's say this one is espresso. So I change the label. And we've got this, right? I can click the label to select, or I can click the button to select. I can only select one of them. They're all on the same line because I haven't done anything to make them not on the same line. if you would like them to be all on separate lines, the easiest way to do that right now is to just put a break between each one. But I really recommend you focus first on just getting the elements on the page, and secondly on the layout. So now you can see we have 3 radio buttons, right? Type equals radio for all of them. They all, by having the same name, they're all connected. Now let me show you, typos are a very easy mistake and hard to see sometimes when you are creating this kind of code. So I just made a typo in one of the buttons there. This is also why you need to test everything on your page. So look, I can select coffee, but now somehow coffee is not a part of the group. So when I notice that, I have to go look for the problem. I have to know that it's the name property that does that, and I have to double check, and sure enough, there's a typo there. And now all of these buttons are connected, and I only get to make one choice out of all of them. So those are the fundamentals of how to set up radio buttons in HTML.